I'll be with you to change your name to mine. One day in May, I'll come and say, happy the bride that the sun shines on today. What a wonderful wedding there will be. What a wonderful day for you and me. Church bells will chime, you will be mine in apple blossom time. Can anybody tell me when apple blossom is time? Spring.
They don't live in houses exactly like we live in. They're heated, not with fans, but just natural draft under the floors. And they have maybe 5 or 6 flues that go under the house. But when they light the fire at one end, the draft carries it through and heats the floor. When one of our spring offensives started, so many of the guerrilla fighters came through and they would store arms, weapons and ammunition up in those thatched roofs. And many of them were booby-trapped. So when they'd see a gun sticking out, they'd pull it out and it would blow up the person. And more likely to kill him or maim him. And so orders came down that we were not to leave a village unless every house was burning. And it wasn't very long that the people were protesting the soldiers burning their houses. So in the wintertime, they would have this fire going under the floors. And the order that came down was, don't burn any of the Korean houses. Well, it was cold. I was cold. So I lit a fire under the floor and let it go, and it got warm, and there was 5 or 6 of us in that one little room. And it got awful hot on our backs while we were sleeping at night. We all left. But it wasn't long that that house burned down. And anybody that burned the house after that had to pay a $50 fine. And I was fined $50 for burning the house down right at the floor. I have several other stories, but they're a little too gory and gruesome. Of course, they're probably not as bad as some that you see on TV.
Poet years ago wrote a little song about the Americans coming over to fight in Europe with the British. Well, they called them Yankees then, okay? But I'm not going to use Yankees if I can help it, okay? I might use it, but I don't want to use it. It goes, over there, send the word over there, that the boys are coming, the drums from tumbling everywhere. So prepare, say a prayer, send the word over there, that the boys are coming, and they won't come back till it's over there.
Wartime mode for an entire year before that happened. We were already geared up. You want to know why? Because one day we all woke up here in Hitchcock. There's a newspaper account that said there's going to be a big army camp built right in the middle of your town. Does anybody know what the name of that army camp was that they built? What was it?
Camp Wallace.
Camp Wallace. So everybody says, oh my, camp, army camp. Well, there'll be a few soldiers around here, I guess. But by November 1940, the camp was built. There were 10,600 and some odd soldiers there and other army personnel. We had 2 men working in our post office here, and they'd have like 25 sacks of mail, weighing 150 pounds each. Mail would start coming in for all of those soldiers that were out at Camp Wallace. So the post office department just staggered under this. Finally, finally they got a post office started out at Camp Wallace, and that helped a little bit. And then the people, the construction workers had poured in, other personnel for related jobs poured in, and gas rationing was just about upon us. So you didn't get much gas. So guess where everybody that moved into Hitchcock wanted to live? In Hitchcock. Because they were working in Hitchcock. Well, Hitchcock had gone to having one cafe, one restaurant, to 7 in just a few months' time. 7 full restaurants operating. The town was bulging with people, bulging with soldiers. And we didn't have any way to get anywhere except by the bus. The bus ran up and down the highway. Well, it ran every hour to and from Camp Wallace. But by the time the bus stopped in Hitchcock, there wasn't any place to sit down. And the buses were old, rattling, ancient ones that had been dug out of the mothballs to make up for, just to transport people to Galveston. Just anything, and into Houston too. So by the time the bus would get here, the civilians, they just stood up on the bus, in and out of Galveston. So then what happened just shortly after that was that the news came out that they were going to build, guess what, something else in Hitchcock. What would that be?
What train station?
No, we already had the train station. A blip base. You know where the blip base is. Oh yeah, so they decided to build a blip base. Well, they had 16 people working in the depot here, the railway depot. Those 16 people had to take care of all the railroad company business by themselves, which they did. But then we get to wondering, what was happening with all the people here in Hitchcock? Were any of them becoming soldiers themselves? Yes, they were. Because the people in Hitchcock began pretty soon to realize that their boys, their husbands, their sons, their brothers, their sweethearts, as the case may be, they were going off to war too. So they were very sad about that. And when the boys left, and they left their young wives home, what did those ladies do? Well, they did a lot of things. They did the work that the men did. They took men's jobs. They volunteered. They worked with the Red Cross. They made bandages. They made sweaters. They made socks. Just everything they could do. They learned how to cook without grease, without butter. They didn't have a recipe that called for beef or bacon. You know why? Because we didn't get beef or bacon even. We never saw any bacon till after 1945. We didn't get bacon. They fixed their old shoes up a little bit because you know why? You couldn't buy any shoes if you didn't have a little ration stand. You had to have a ration stand to get a pair of shoes. And you didn't have many of those. You couldn't get any sugar if you didn't